Hey, so when's the last time you bought a brand new car or a car that was new to you? What were some of the things that happened? We bought a few new cars, not brand new. I think that's crazy to spend that much money on a brand new car, but a new car to us. I remember months ago, last year, we spent some money and bought a car for my wife. It was interesting because after we bought that particular car, it was like all of a sudden I recognized or saw that there was a lot of those cars out there. It's like, hey, what happened here? So what actually happened? Did after we bought that car, did a bunch of people go and buy the same exact car that same day? Of course not. That didn't happen. What happened is I started noticing all of the same cars that were the same cars what we had bought. So it was already there. It was already a fact. Those people already owned those cars, but I didn't really start noticing until I decided to kind of focus on it because it was relevant to me at that point because we owned a car just like it. So that got me to thinking a little bit about, does this same thing happen to us when we're thinking about the gifts that God gives us every single day? And unless we focus on those gifts and recognize those and point them out, they go unnoticed. And sometimes it even takes other people to point those out to us or to me. Say, hey, there's a lot here that you have to be grateful for. So I think this is a great day. Sunday is a great day to worship God and to glorify Him and talk about how great God is and how great He has been in my life. Can we say too much? Is there a point where we've said too much? I don't think you can praise or worship God more than is possible. Um, there, He is beyond anything that I realize or that I even notice. Reminds me of a scripture in Alma, in the Book of Mormon, Alma 26:16, and it says, "Behold, who can glory too much in the Lord? Yea, who can say too much of his great power and of his mercy and long suffering towards the children of men? Behold, I say unto you, I cannot say the smallest part which I feel." And I think that's true. There is so much out there, so much that we have to be grateful for, so many blessings, and a lot of times we don't recognize um, what those things are. So, what does it mean to glorify someone or something or to glorify God? And this was called to my attention here recently by a YouTube video made by a friend and a comment made there. And I loved the description and the definition of what it means to glorify God. And he says, to reveal the goodness of something or someone to a greater degree or to a greater extent than before. To glorify God means anytime anyone gains a greater understanding of how good he is, or recognizes or orients their lives to him to a greater degree or capacity is glorified. So, what experiences have I had? What experiences have you had that led you to understand God is much better than what you realize? God cares about us so much and He's involved in so many things in our lives. What experiences have you had that have left you feeling like He cares more about you than you realized or wants to help in even the smallest details of our life? In our lives, He cares about everything that we do, everything, every thought that we have. He cares about the stress that we have and what stresses us out. He cares about our goals. He cares about how we treat other people or we are mistreated by others. He cares about how we treat or mistreat others. He's involved in the smallest details and the largest challenges that you face. The problem is sometimes when He sends help in the smallest or largest things, we don't recognize it as help, and we turn away from what could be the most beneficial tool that we could have. So, how great is God? He has sent me so many things. He's sent me so many people to help in the journey that I've been on. I've talked about some of those difficult things. I remember a time where I was struggling a lot with some challenges that we faced as a family and personally. I've talked about some of those things. I remember going to a park and it was dark and there was no lighting at the park and there was nobody else there. And I remember yelling as loud as I could something about God help me. And it wasn't done in anger, it was done out of desperation and seeking for his help and his strength. He has helped. He did answer that prayer. Maybe the neighbors, the houses that surrounded that park thought there was some crazy person there. But he did help. I mean, it wasn't instantly, it wasn't an angel that was sent. But there were angels sent. And most of those angels were people, mortal people that live on this earth that helped. I remember one guy in particular, I've talked about him in other videos. He was a divorced guy. And what started the whole thing was I had noticed some things about what he had said in a presentation in a professional setting in front of a board of directors and myself that caught my attention. He talked about some difficulties he was having in life, going through a divorce, and how the teller at the bank kind of ignored it. He was setting up a new account and dividing up money, and how traumatic that was for him, and she or he kind of disregarded, didn't pay attention. Very difficult time in his life. And so I said something to him about that after, and that's what led to him really ministering to me. If I hadn't gone up and tried to reach out to him and help him, he wouldn't have been the great blessing to me in my life. Basically, what he said is, I've gone through some very difficult things in my life. This is how God helped me. This is how he can help you. He doesn't play favorites. So God is so good. He is so great. How can I say too much of him? I glorify, I give praise and honor to God. He has protected my life in so many ways. Physically, I'm not a thrill seeker. We're very cautious when we do things that are dangerous. You might think, you know, rock climbing is proof that you are a thrill seeker, but in this case, we don't do anything without double checking, triple checking things. But after I graduated from high school, one of the things that we did with a friend was we went to Devil's Tower and climbed that weird mountain. It's very strange. It's in Wyoming, and it's that tower. If you've seen the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it's that mountain that's in that movie. It's very weird shaped. It has these columns going around this structure mountain, and it's flat on top. It kind of looks like a bell, but all the way around this, it's not smooth. It has these vertical columns. It's very strange looking. Um, and so we went to climb this, and I was on lead on one of the routes. It was somewhat easy. On lead, I got into a position to start belaying, so I was at the top. The guy following me was on the ground, and so I don't know what happened. I forgot to clip my harness into the anchor that was behind me. And as I was pulling, as I was belaying, he would climb up. I was taking the slack up. He fell early on an easy climb. And thank goodness I had positioned myself kind of behind a rock. And I couldn't understand why I was taking so much weight. And I looked behind me and I had forgotten to clip in. So God is great. He's, a lot of bad things could have happened there. Um, I glorify, I give praise to God in recognizing that He has spiritually protected my life many times by guiding me to people or away from others to keep me on the right path. I give great glory and honor to God in helping me teach my sons the value of helping others. Another quick story. Years ago, when I lived in Salt Lake, my mom had gone through breast cancer, and thank goodness she had been in remission for many years. But in order to support the cancer cause, we entered a 5K race, the Huntsman Cancer race. And after I was done, I think we did a 5K or something very basic. After we were done, I had grabbed an orange from one of the tables, and I was carrying it with me, and I had my wife, my 4 sons with me. I didn't have any money, but as we were walking from the event to our car, I saw a lady in a wheelchair and she was holding a sign asking for help. And I said to myself, I wished I had something with me. I don't have anything. So I kind of walked by. And as soon as I walked by, I had a thought, you need to give that orange to that lady. And I thought, and I was scoffed at the thought, what good is an orange going to do for this lady? Thank goodness I listened. I gave that orange to one of my sons, and I said to him, that lady needs some help. Why don't we give that orange to her? So he ran back and gave it to her. And for days, for many days, I felt so good about doing that. And it might not have done anything for her, but what did it teach my sons? God is so good. He is better and beyond anything I know. He knows how important it is to raise sons and children with your spouse and to help him recognize the value of helping others. And he helps with that responsibility. One other quick story. I'll just tell all my stories and I'll be done with all these YouTube videos. Sorry, I got my tissues. God is so good. He has taught me the value of helping others. and the joy that's found in helping others. Remember a time I was sitting outside a restaurant in Salt Lake with a friend. It was a summer day. It was nice. We were in the shade. We were eating our food. And I was watching people as they came out of the restaurant. There was one lady in particular, an elderly lady that came out. In one hand, she had a bag of her food. And in the other hand, she had her cane. She was walking very slowly. As she got to the curb, to step down from the curb, to try to get in her car, she paused and she didn't know quite what to do. She didn't know if she should put the cane down first or put the food down, but she was struggling, and I had a thought, you should go help her. I kind of just kept talking, and then a second time, and then the third time, you should go help her. Thank goodness I jumped up. Felt bad. It took 3 times. Jumped up. I said, "Hey, do you need some help? Let me grab your food. Let me help you down from the curb so you can get in your car." And everything was fine. My friend came up and he thought that was pretty cool too. But I've often thought, what would have happened if I would have ignored all 3 of those calls? Probably something not good, and I would have felt bad if I had watched her fall and got injured because I didn't stand up to help. God is so good. He is beyond anything that I know. How can I say too much? I give glory to Him in unanswered prayers, in guiding me every day, in directing me to people greater than me, and in answered prayers. God is great. He is in charge. He blesses those who need it and those who don't deserve it. Behold, who can glory too much in the Lord? Who can say too much of his great power and his mercy, and his long suffering towards the children of men? Behold, I say unto you, I cannot say the smallest part which I feel.